Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for the latest episode of Supernatural Golden Time. In this episode, God, oh my God, you could almost cut it out and you wouldn't lose anything. It's definitely not a good Monster of the Week story because it halvesies with Cass's story in this. And Cass's story is so linear and just happens like if I said plot goes A, B, C. That's pretty much how it works. Granted, pretty much the whole objective of Cass's storyline was to get him back in the game, even though that's pretty much their words. And I was like, okay, whatever. And the whole Sam storyline, that was the main thing, just introduced so many different problems that you almost have to take a little bit of time after the episode to kind of marinate and be like, okay, I didn't really enjoy that, but why didn't I enjoy that? And then you just start finding things that start popping up. So, we already start off on the episode on a wrong foot because we see that somebody is going in to try and get into Rowena's place that she had and find her magical mystical shit. Granted, not problematic in and of itself until we get in and this music starts playing, and I swear I was almost watching Netflix for a minute because the audio for this song was so loud and obnoxious. I was like, what the fuck is going on here? And the person is just trashing the place and then dies. I'm like, yeah, of course Rowena would have something to kill this person. What of it? Then we get to Sam and Dean doing their own kind of stuff. Dean just really not doing much. Now, granted, I do kind of like this aspect because he's now being like, well, God controls everything. It's going to happen no matter what I do. So he's just been pretty much in his room eating cereal and shit. One kind of funny bit was that he was checking out this one cereal and then the way he kind of spat it out was kind of funny. Dean kind of way. Alright, cool. Sam's doing stuff on his computer, sees something out of the corner of his eye, and what the fuck's going on? And they're just pretty much trying to figure out what's going on, and we now have the whole Sam's ready to go, stick it to God. Dean's like, whatever. And we find out that the person that has been walking around the bunker is Eileen. Because evidently when she was killed, she was dragged to hell by a hellhound, and she just wanted to figure out any kind of help. Now, granted, I understand that that is what is here now. But as this episode goes on and we get more with the ghost kind of stuff, it starts popping up inconsistencies of, okay, ghosts are usually tied to a certain thing or maybe like a certain place. Eileen really doesn't have that kind of restriction. Bobby needed that restriction in season 7. But granted, lore doesn't matter because it's 2019. We don't care. That's one of the things because we get to a thing at the... we'll get to it when we get to it. But she's like, hey, I was in hell. I don't want to go back to hell. But I don't want to go crazy either. And Dean Lee lends the information that, yeah, you can't go to heaven. She's like, crap, what do we do? Of course, Sam's talking it over. Dean's like, hey, we got to kind of help her. And he's like, fine, okay. And they just pretty much think of pretty much Pokeballing her. I.e., doing Rowena's spell to put her in a prison thing so that way she doesn't go crazy. Or go to hell. But I would think being trapped in pretty much a crystal for the end of time or until Chuck decides to wipe out the universe, it's pretty shitty too. Never mind the fact that once we get to the end of this, there's a bit that happens that I would be like, okay, we already kind of had a baked in character. Why did this person need to come back for this shit? So, Sam goes on his quest to go figure out how to deal with that. Oh, yeah, the reason... One of the weirdest things is when Eileen pretty much popped up, Sam was running, and it's like, okay, we could have just had her, like, pop up in the bunker, but alright, fine, cool. it was just like, alright, cool. So him and Eileen decide to go there. They have their own kind of little chat as they're going there from the gas station, but I honestly was pretty much starting to get bored with this stuff. I'm like, what am I supposed to be grabbing on here? Come on. So they go into Rowena's apartment complex kind of thing, and they're like, hey, this person wasn't looking in the right spaces. But evidently, since Rowena liked Sam, she decided not to do those kind of things. Eileen's able to walk through a wall and is like, hey, there's this stuff here. And we also see that they are being watched by witches in the van because they had sent one of the witches in to get the witch shit. But Sam is able to find this thing, which is a spell Rowena was working on, as we learned throughout the episode, is single use to pretty much turn a ghost back into a person. Never mind the fact that when we get to the actual spell, not a lot of the ingredients involved kind of even dealt with trying to make like a body. Because evidently, as Sam's reading through her journals, she wanted to bring back Mary Winchester, and I'm like, okay, yeah, you're going to do this for Eileen. Okay, not saying that she doesn't deserve it, but it's really weird to bring her character back when, I don't know, you could have done that with Kevin. And Kevin was a prophet, had pretty much a direct line to God. That could have helped in a situation where God's an antagonist. I don't know if he would come back as a prophet or whatnot, but having some residual prophet kind of like memories or something would have probably helped. I don't know. That just sounds like what would have worked with me, but the plot demands that we got another good guy character that was put in hell, which is just kind of being bitchy, really, and just kind of a petty fanboy asshole. If Chuck is writing it like this, to just start being like, hey, pretty much everybody that you liked and saved, I just threw into hell. I'm like, alright, I mean, yeah, just go Big Dick Willie, flop it in the wind on that shit. But, as they're walking out, Sam gets hex bag kind of shit, and the witches come and be like, hey, you go in there and get the shit. And, of course, he told Eileen to pretty much go get his brother. And then starts the best kind of teleportation sequence ever, because Dean coming in to save his ass at that one point, I'm like, okay, what the fuck? Like, how did he get there? What did he use? I mean, granted, they do have a lot of vehicles in the Men of Letters bunker. It's just like, alright. And Eileen be able to go that far. Like, evidently, she's super ghost and be able to... But that's a lore problem that is never going to be resolved. It just opens up... I don't mind if, at some reason, a ghost can become untethered and do these kind of things. Just explain it to us and don't just let it happen because the plot demands it. But, of course, we see that the chick, is the head witch, is like, hey, you're going to go in there and get my shit so that way I can bring back my daughter. While the other daughter's being like, me. And Sam's like, I just can't believe that he pretty much has information that Chuck is not going to kill them. Why didn't Sam just go full-on floppy dick style and be like, you ain't killing me, bitch. God's trying to mess with me. Fuck you. Granted, that usually isn't Sam's style, but it would have been fucking hilarious if she's like, oh, if you help me, I will kill you quickly, pretty much. I'm like, nah. I'm already fighting God. What do you got, bitch? Kind of scenario. It's like, God. But Sam goes in, messes with the stuff to get the stuff, learns the terrible, horrible backstory of Hair and Face Witch Lady, and the sister pretty much was a bitch to her and did all this shit, turned her crush into a balloon and popped his ass, turned her tongue into a snake that's bit her. Almost seemed like he was getting in through to her, but of course he goes trying to get the stuff out. But of course Dean pops up at that time, holding the mother with witch-killing bullets. And then we get a weird kind of fight sequence. Eileen is fighting the ghost woman, and the only reason they're able to defeat her is because she's still tethered to her body. That comes in at the end where they light it on fire and kill her ass. Then they're kind of struggling against each other, and Dean shoots the hair and face witch chick with the bullet, but of course, head honcho goes after Dean, and honestly, the gun was slid towards Sam, and I'm like, Sam, pick up the gun. But no, since he's been learning witchcraft stuff from Rowena, he decides to put some kind of weird voodoo hex bag into her mouth and use it to suffocate and or bleed kill her. Because, like, blood was coming out. I'm like, okay. Because Sam's talking about how Rowena used magic to gain control back because of everything going on. I'm like, okay, that's not completely just me. Like, okay, Sam needs to do this magic stuff to help defeat God. I'm like, fine, it works. I just wish it had been kind of more organic. It's really kind of weird to think of Sam as Rowena's kind of protege, and him doing with this, like, magic and all that, but the thing is, we know he's not really gonna be going on the path of, like, dealing with demons and everything. He's already done that, so it'll be interesting to see if they're able to do anything with that and how it's gonna factor in. I don't know. And of course they torch the one lady and they're like, okay, we'll get ready to deal with this stick. They go, they set up everything, and they're able to bring Eileen back, and they get a whole kind of nice moment. And it's like, oh, that's cool. I almost expected her to die within 20 seconds of coming out of it because Chuck's that much of a dick, but evidently he's got bigger dick moves to work with. Of course, Dean apologizes to Sam, but he's like, hey, you saved my ass there. It's like, yeah, I can't mope. You gotta go and pretty much beat God. Cass's whole thing was he's essentially vacationing, finds this town that's got bodies that are popping up, drained of blood. I was thinking, okay, maybe vampire. But of course, he does his whole thing with being an FBI agent, runs into a mother whose son's missing, talks to the sheriff dude. Dean answers and pretty much plays off as the FBI director person, berates Cass for not answering the messages or anything, and just pretty much says goodbye. And he goes and he's looking through all the case stuff and finds all these different bodies that have been found around this lake. Goes there. The mother's like, hey, I'll go with you. Fine. They go on their trip towards the silver mine and everything. They find the kid. He's okay. He's not in the mine or anything. He's like, yeah, I saw this thing and it like fucked up my ankle and shit. And we just find out that the sheriff is the Djinn, and Cass just fucking like, yeah, fuck this shit. He gets shot and everything, and then he just power stabs the dude with his angel blade. I thought you needed like specific stuff, but things will kill whatever things the plot demands here. And again, my issue isn't that it can, but establish why it can in a good, cohesive way that works within the lore. Cass then uses his limited power to heal the kid's ankle and pretty much says, hey, yeah, there's monsters and shit, watch out. And like, yeah, it was kind of a miracle. I don't want to get into that shit. But he's like, yeah, I'm back in the game, gotta go do shit. I'm like, alright, see how that goes. It just becomes so problematic. I'm like, I was really bored throughout this episode, and Cass's, I've just seen them do better with these characters, and that is the irksome thing about it. Because I like that we went on a little journey with Cass to try and get him back into his thing. However, its execution and just how it was done, granted, throughout the episode, there was like, okay, how we were cutting between the stories was just really kind of weird. It's like, alright, that's a weird spot to kind of go to it. But his just was like so basic. And really was just the most basic monster of the week thing that could have been actually blown out to been a Cass episode to really explore what he is trying to do. He's losing his powers. There are very few angels left. Heaven will fall. And how is this affecting him? How is it affecting him that Dean is like, hey, what's up with you? We don't even really get that kind of thing. Dean's pissed off at him for not answering Sam's things when Dean has pretty much blamed Castiel for a lot of shit. What? What? Fucking hell. Shit. getting on the bed. What the fuck? Who? Why? You don't get to fucking tell somebody they're pretty much the reason for every fucking problem you got, and then be like, I'm gonna answer your phone calls. God damn it. I understand it's Sam, but that's just a fucking pisser. Oh my god, man. And they didn't even fucking deal with it. What am I even watching anymore? What is my life? That's the, like, okay. So we just know that Cass is going back into the game and going to deal with the whole God situation and everything. So I guess that means he's going to be hooking back up with them at some point. I understand the whole Eileen being brought in, but again, it's more case of greatest hits and look, fan service, this is the person you liked. When in actuality, Kevin would have dealt more with that and been better and better use of previous fan service to bring back and deal with kind of plot relevant stuff. And when it was talking about being like a one-off shot and Death kind of wanting to close that loophole, I was expecting, like, hey, that could have been an interesting part to kind of bring Billy in and have her kind of explain what she's doing, because she's just off doing fuck all, and God's getting ready to end at least this existence, and I'm like, hey, God's in a very vulnerable spot. Why don't you just, I don't know, team up with the Winchesters, get Amara, shackle that motherfucker, and reap his ass? I don't know, that sounds like a Tuesday night. I don't know. I hope we get checking in on them at some point, because we haven't had anything at this point. And the longer we go, it's just going to feel more rushed and more poorly executed of how much you're going to have to condense and show going on, because they haven't been in the plot that much. We're already so deep into the season, it's like, those are kind of important things. I don't know. I mean, you could almost take this episode out and nothing of value would have really been lost. Now, I'm not saying that one-off episodes are useless, but when they are executed like this and done in this kind of way, especially in the final season, it's a waste. And it's filler for filler's sake. And I hope that we get some kind of better potential and better execution going forward, but I have not seen the signs to lead to that point yet. So those are my opinions on the episode. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.